The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencer's Edge Show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Influencer's Edge. This is the show that disconnects the dots, thinks outside the box, and colors outside the lines. And today's guest, Lee Salz, is certainly a contrarian. It's the number one reason I wanted to have him on the show. That's how he bills himself in his bio, which is rather extensive. I'm not going to run through the whole thing. But also, this dude is a power lifter. So we were talking before the show about guns and buns, right, Lee?
That's it.
How the hell did you get into powerlifting?
Well, it's a long story. I was the proverbial, what was it, 98-pound weakling as a
Oh,
teenager. I
Charles
got a,
Atlas. Do you remember
there you
the
go.
Charles Atlas
I
ads?
do. I do. And as a high school teenager, I got a job working at a health club. It's a weight room supervisor. I'd never lifted a weight in my life. So I'd be sitting at this desk doing my homework. And I mean, looking back, if I was a member, I really would not have been happy because I mean, here's this kid doesn't know anything about working out. He's the weight room supervisor. But a couple of members took me under their wing, and I fell in love with the fitness world. And I was actually in the fitness industry for a number of years. In college, I competed in bodybuilding, and I said, you know what? I like to eat, and but this dieting thing, I love working out. The dieting thing is not for me. So starting in 2000, I got introduced to competing in powerlifting, specifically the bench press.
Mm, mm. Pretty cool. Have you carried that discipline over into your work life?
Absolutely.
It's the mental
Absolutely.
toughness. This is what my trainer has taught me. I've been able, fortunately, to bring it out of the gym and off of the bench and bring it into business. Do you think entrepreneurs, salespeople can survive without that toughness?
No,
And and so when you work with clients, do you help install that? Do you believe that's something that can be installed or cultivated?
it's very difficult. When I look at myself and my own personal discipline, it's just the way I'm wired. I, it's not something that I'd say I can teach someone else to be disciplined. You are or you aren't. There are days you wake up and you go, I just don't feel like going to the gym.
And that's when I go.
And
That's when
that's when
I
I go.
go.
But there are a lot of people that will say, you know what? I'm just going to grab some Oreos and kick back on the couch.
No, that doesn't work. All right, let's jump
Yeah.
into what you do.
Okay.
I'm going to do my announcer voice because this is obviously, I don't know if a publicist wrote this, but it's really good. When executives seek solutions to tough sales performance challenges, their search often leads them to Lee Salz,
Oh, no
sales
spotlight, no
trainer.
tunes with that.
No. Da, 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 dun, 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 dun. Lee Salz is a world-renowned sales management strategist, keynote speaker, and the award-winning, not almost, but the award-winning bestseller author of 7 business books. 7? Lee, when do you have time to sleep?
Well, let's see. Writing, working with clients in the gym, got 3 kids, married, sleep. What's sleep for?
Oh, okay. I can tell from those which one is the biggest burden to lift, but I'm not going to say anything. So I'm just going to read a couple of your titles. The First Meeting Differentiator, Sales Differentiation. What do you mean? This is for me, I know what it means, but if you were to explain it to my audience, assuming they're pretty sharp people and
Mhm.
sophisticated, what do you mean by differentiation as it applies to sales?
Great, great question. Great place for us to start the conversation. So often when I talk with executives about differentiation, their minds always go one place, marketing. And they're not wrong. They're just limited in their beliefs. There's actually two types of differentiation. There's marketing differentiation, there's sales differentiation, and they're unique. They're also related. Here's what I mean by that. Marketing differentiation says, here's all the potential of what could be, right? That's what a trade show does. That's what your website does. There's all the potential of what could be. Salespeople take all of that potential and bring it down to what should be for an individual in a specific circumstance.
Wait, wait,
I'll
wait,
give you an
wait,
example.
wait, wait. Unpack that for me. I don't understand what
Sure.
you mean.
Okay. So when you think of what's on a website, you've got all the capabilities, right? This is marketing, putting all these different things we can do with all these glorious words and expression, differentiating from a marketing perspective. That's great. That may create some intrigue, but the salespeople have to take that intrigue down and pull it into a specific solution for an individual. Everyone buys for a different reason. Why he buys is different than why she buys. Sales differentiation strategy gives you the tools to take what could be to what should be for an individual in a specific circumstance.
Okay, from what could be to what should be. Well, let's
Correct.
talk about that. Unpack that
Yep.
a little. Well,
Yeah.
unpack that a little bit more. Should be according to whom to accomplish what, and who decides what should be and what shouldn't.
Right. Okay. So B is again sales, the marketing side. When they're creating all of their work, what they're doing is saying, "Here's all the potential of what it could look like if you worked with our company." Right? All these different options, but the salespeople have to take what could be, and their expertise is bringing deals to fruition. I sure hope it is anyway. And they take what marketing has provided and then they apply it to a specific sales situation. And that's ultimately what becomes sales differentiation strategy.
Let's unpack this for people who most of my audience does not work in the corporate world where they
Yeah.
have branding and the rest of it. So
Yeah.
I work across industries. I work by psychographic, not demographics. Some of my
Mhm.
clients wind up to being psychos, and I think I'm the same thing. So how would someone who is a member of a sales team or someone who owns a small real estate brokerage or something like that apply
Yeah.
this when they do some marketing, but they're not really leaning heavily into marketing.
Okay. So when we talk about sales differentiation, is differentiating what you sell, how you sell. Okay, so let's talk first about differentiating what you sell. And that's what my book, Sales Differentiation, is all about. It's identifying what your differentiators are, which is nice, but unless you can get someone on the other side of the desk just as excited about that differentiator as you are, you may as well not have it because the only conversation you're going to have is price.
Well, let's push
So,
back a minute. I don't mean to be disruptive, but I want to push back. And
yeah,
something like I have had a few clients now who sell retirement investments, and they're
okay,
basically the same thing. There's
that's
some
right.
there's the some differentiate what you would call differentiation or
Mhm.
I'm haven't had my coffee fully this morning, but fundamentally they're selling the same product and the mechanism of delivery is pretty much the same. So,
Right.
how would you differentiate in a market in an industry where you're pretty much selling the same product?
Yeah. And sometimes we don't have that luxury of differentiating what you sell. which is limiting anyway. Differentiating how you sell has no
Ah,
ceiling, right?
great.
And so I'll give you an example of how you can differentiate how you sell. I'm going to ask you questions that no one has asked you before that lead you down a path to think differently about the solutions you have or could have. So that you say, you know what? I've never thought of it that way. And by asking questions that way, they say, boy, this guy's an expert in this. And I want to work with an expert.
Let's talk about that. So, what kind of questions would you ask that typically salespeople don't ask? Because there's
Okay.
a whole series of trainings out there about asking the right questions,
Right.
eliciting the client's values, their vision, etc.
Hmm.
So tell us what differentiates. I need my
Yes.
coffee terribly. I'm just being
Yeah.
human.
So,
Keep it real
yeah.
here.
So let's get into that. One of the things I talk about in my new book, The First Meeting Differentiator, chapter 5 is dedicated to a topic I call empathetic expertise. It
Mm,
has nothing about differentiating what you sell, it's a way to differentiate how you sell. There's an expression in sales. Everyone who's been in sales has heard this expression, and I'm going to guess you've heard it a million times. You ready, Paul? People buy based on emotion, justify their decisions with logic. Did I get it right?
yeah,
You've heard it a million times. Well, now a
yeah,
million and one. Now find a salesperson that actually puts that into practice. Everyone's heard the expression, so few do it. I'll bet you the deed to my house, Paul. If we recorded 100 first meetings across all sale types, all industries, all around the world, 99 of those 100 meetings, if not all 100, the entire conversation was logic. And I struggle with that. I'm like, if
mm,
everyone's heard it, why doesn't anyone do it? Then I
hmm
had this epiphany. I have two sons that played college baseball. And I remember when they were first learning the game, little kids, and the coaches would say, now, Stephen and David, the name of the game is to hit home runs. They have smiles like hit home runs. They didn't hit home runs until they were taught how to hit home runs. And
correct.
that's the fundamental issue. We preach to salespeople this expression that people buy based on emotion, justify their decisions with logic, but we haven't taught them how to do it. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
Salespeople ask a question like, what's the biggest challenge you face in your business today? And as a result of that question, you're going to get information back, right? I don't want information. I want color. I want flavor. I want texture. I want to know how they feel about the information
Exactly.
that they're sharing with me. So, what if we ask the question this way? Well, what's that one thing in your business? Like, oh, we have got to get this figured out. What's that one thing? Did you
Oh,
feel
you
that
want me to
question?
answer?
No, no, no. So you felt that question, didn't you?
Yes.
So you can imagine in the field, in a real selling situation, how effective that is. Because what happens is you're not just going to get information back, you're going to find out how they feel about the information that they're sharing with you. And that's a way to engage their emotions as part of that conversation. Because emotion is a deal energizer. If we're not engaging emotion when selling, the deal
Agree.
has no life to it.
I
That's why
agree.
it stalls out.
I'll add to that. Speaking to you as someone who sells hypnotically and teaches people to sell to the unconscious or subconscious mind, same thing. I have said that when you start out being too logical, facts, data, information, it just triggers the part of the brain that's skeptical because that part deals with facts, data, information, figures. So you're just generating the very thing you don't want, which is skepticism, distrust, etc. If you want to get know, like, and trust, how can you do that if you're starting with information, facts, and data? Now, there's a time in the sale where you have to present the numbers, but at the beginning, that's a stupid thing to do. Would you agree?
So, I mean, and there's countless memory studies that have been done that talk about retention, that people are much less likely to remember facts and figures when they're shared independently than when they're enveloped in stories,
Yes.
emotive stories,
Yeah.
right? There's a, again, chapter in my book, Features, Benefits, and Boredom. So we've taught salespeople you share features with benefits. Well, if you're going to do that, bring a pillow with you because you're going to put them to sleep. Everyone loves a well-told story. It dates
Mm.
back to when you were a young child and you'd end your day with mom and dad read that little story to you. No better way to end the day with a good
Yep.
story. And I
Yep.
love doing that with my kids. I'd read them Encyclopedia Brown. Remember Encyclopedia Brown? Remember those
No, but I
books?
remember my favorite story, To Kill a
What was that?
Mockingbird.
Ah, there you go. There you go. And read,
Yeah,
and just because we're adults, that doesn't go away.
of
We
course.
love that, and we're much more likely to remember it. And if you share it in an emotive fashion, again, we're engaging their emotions and makes much more likely that your deal will get life to it.
Now, you're not advocating for looking at the prospect and saying, once upon a time in a land far, far away. So give us an
No,
example. I know you're,
sure,
I'm just messing with you. So
right.
how would you begin the story? How would you begin the process of integrating story into your sales?
Okay, so let me give it to you a features and benefits example. Our product is available in 50 shades of blue, and that allows you to match anything you want to have in your home.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So now let's turn into a story. Well, what you shared with me today reminds me of another client I was working with, and
Quotes.
he had tried everything possible to match everything in his home, and he was just really frustrated. And we sat down and we went through the palette that we offer, 50 shades, and that allowed him to be able to match exactly what he wanted. Oh, and he was so excited, right? That's what I mean around taking that feature and benefit. Probably not going to remember that 50 number, but gosh, when you hear it in a story and you say, by the way, another client had that same challenge. Now I feel
Yeah,
like I'm part of a group. I'm not the only
yeah.
one out there trying to accomplish this. I'm going to be much more likely to share with you.
I would add to that. One of the people I follow and who I admire greatly, I don't know if you've heard of him, is a guy by the name of Alex Ramozoy.
Yeah,
Do you know?
sure.
And
Yep,
Alex says, never underestimate the power of status. People want status.
they
So I
do.
would add to that story. And the way he felt and glowed with pride when his neighbors and family came over and said, "What did you do to make your home feel so welcome?" I just,
Bingo.
uh,
Yes. Yes,
add
yes,
in.
yes. And that's the last part when you talk about the results. Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the reasons I found why salespeople are stuck sharing features and benefits is that companies don't create what I call their deal pursuit story portfolio.
I love it. Unpack that.
Okay. So here's the idea. I join your company today and you've been around 50 years. How am I supposed to know how each one of these clients came to be? I don't know it. It's not documented anywhere. So what's left? Features and benefits. So I advocate to sales leaders, small business owners, to put together some documentation around your clients. You don't need every client, but for example, ones that came to you with a particular challenge and you solved it. We're working with a particular competitor and came to you and the experience of what they've said the difference is in working with you. And you develop this portfolio, you teach your salespeople how to deliver it. You test them in your environment on the delivery of that story, because once they get in the field, you've lost total control. They're not selling it right. You got a problem. Test them in your environment, and now they've been armed with a whole new tool set.
Very cool. So, what are some of the challenges in implementing this? I know you don't have the challenges because you're a master. You've been doing this for how long?
More years than I care to say. I'm
Uh,
56.
you're a pup. I'm 67.
Okay.
Get out of my face. So, what are some of the challenges that your clients find when they're first starting to implement this? Because it really is a different way of thinking. It is a contrarian way of thinking. So, when you
Yeah.
train, for example, when a client comes to you, or I don't know what the avatar, I hate that word, of your best client would be, whether it's corporate or a large
Mhm.
sales organization or whatever it is, what are your biggest challenges in getting this through to people who have been doing things the same way for a decade or 2 decades? And they say, well, we're already doing pretty good, but we wanted to see if you give us a little bump. And well, that's bullshit. If they're coming to you, it means they cannot move that needle or they're going backward.
Correct. That's right. As a matter of fact, my keynote talk and workshop is titled Move the Sales Needle, where I teach little things that you can do differently in that sales journey to meaningfully differentiate yourself so that your prospects would rather do business with you rather than the alternative. The challenges are, unfortunately, time. And I use that loosely because we're all busy. Like when I hear someone say, "Oh, I don't have time for that," I said, "Well, let me ask you this. If the CEO right now sent you a text saying, I want to meet with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. to talk about tripling your salary, would you be there?" Well, yeah, of
Yeah.
course I'd be. I'm like,
Yeah.
right. You won't even look at your calendar
Hmm.
to see if you're available. You will be there. Why? Because making
Yep.
money is a top priority for you.
Yep.
So if you have alignment between an issue, it's going to get done. So what you're telling me when you say there isn't time for this is that this is not a great enough priority to move
Correct.
that sales needle.
Absolutely.
So I'm confused. Why are we talking?
This is exactly, I learned this from when I was a gangly young man trying to get a date, and the woman would say, I'm busy. Well, if you're really interested, you're never too busy to do the things you value or to do the things you.
Absolutely. That's right. It's like when people say I'm too busy to go to the gym. Well, you start doing the math, right? Here's the number of hours you're awake every day. You can't find 30 minutes to go to the gym and invest in your health.
See,
You don't
my
want to. That's the difference. You don't want to. Don't say you can't.
my math runs the other way. I'm calculating if I don't do this, how many years am I cutting from my lifespan? Because we know
Right.
one of the number one predictors of aging and longevity is muscle mass. People don't want to hear it, but it's true.
It's funny when I'm in the gym and I'm doing pull-ups. That's just one exercise I do not enjoy, but I do them. And I'm always, as I'm hanging there going, why am I doing this? And I remember I'm 56 years old. And I want to be able to do things that I want to do long past 56 years old. That's
Lee,
why
don't
I'm hanging
bullshit.
there.
Don't bullshit a bullshitter. You go to for
What's that?
some gym babes can admire you. Don't let your wife see this episode.
Yeah, right, right.
He'll
Well,
tell
she
you.
goes to the gym with me. I wouldn't be able to get away
Oh,
with that.
okay. Well, good. That makes for a good couple just to keep up with you. See, I told you
Yes,
it'd be a different kind of show, did I
I
not?
love it. I love it.
Completely. Let's see what else this bio tells me. I just don't really pay attention to them. Let's look at these questions that your person submitted, and I don't really read them.
Mentioned about being a contrarian.
There's an age-old expression in sales: people buy based on emotion, and
Yep,
just
we
well,
talked
we've
about that.
already heard that one.
Mhm.
People have been told if you identify a prospect's pain, you're well positioned to win the deal, but you don't agree. That sounds,
No.
to me, I've made some good chunk of change. That's just a part of the process. Do you understand? That's not all I do,
Mhm.
but
Right.
identifying, helping them to identify the pain rather than me identify it is an important part. So
Mhm.
why are you saying that? That seems like crazy.
Sounds like something a sales contrarian might say.
Yeah, I love it. So unpack it, man.
Okay,
Don't just blame it.
absolutely.
Don't just put the weight on
Absolutely.
the rack. Lift the goddamn bar.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about that. So every sales pundit, every article, book says if you find pain, you're well positioned to get the deal. And
Hmm.
I do disagree with that because every salesperson has an example where they've found pain and they didn't get the deal. So I'll give you a little story. So a salesperson's meeting with a prospect, and during that meeting, the prospect is talking about all the issues with the current provider, and this is going to be a whale of a deal. And the salesperson's trying not to salivate as he's listening to this.
Hmm.
So she gets through the whole thing, and he goes home and he's sitting on his deck and he's thinking, I'm finally going to get that boat. Right, this
Oh,
commission check is going to be massive. And he tells his wife, hey, we're finally getting that boat. And then the next morning, he comes into work, he opens his email, and there's a note from the prospect saying, hey, thank you so much for meeting with us yesterday. After further thought, we've decided to stay with our current provider.
correct.
Now, how can that happen? I found pain, I heard it, but I didn't get the deal. So are all the sales pundits wrong? No. What's missing is they don't tell the salespeople that you have to take the conversation deeper to determine if the pain you've heard It's an inconvenience or a problem.
Correct.
Inconvenience or a problem. And those aren't synonyms. I'll give you an example. So during COVID, we got a puppy. Her name is Kona. She's actually taking a little snooze in her bed behind me. She loves when I do podcasts.
I got my kitty cat, one of my kitty cats wandering around here somewhere to disrupt me.
Okay, so she's my little cockapoo. Paul, I wake up every morning. She gets on top of my pillow, reaches down, and gives me little kisses on my nose. There is no better way to start the day than with kisses on your nose from Kona. But she does have an idiosyncrasy. She likes to hang out in my dining room. We have three big windows that face the street, and she just sits there all day long watching. And anytime someone walks past, particularly if they're walking a dog, she goes nuts. So she runs laps around the dining room table, the stairs, down the stairs. Well, this one day, we didn't open the blinds on one of the windows to her satisfaction, but it was enough that she could see someone was walking by with a dog. So she goes to the blind, starts pawing at it so she can get a better look at her new friend. So at the end of that day, I had a set of blinds, and a sheet covering that third window. Paul, it stayed that way for a year. And I know our listeners are going, what kind of house do you live in that you had a sheet on your window in your dining room for a year? Well, when did I say this happened? COVID. There was no one coming to visit. The dining room's not even in the main traffic pattern of our home. We never go in there. Stayed that way for a year. But then it happened, Paul. My wife comes to me and says, honey, my parents are coming to town. Paul
Uh-oh.
and Gail are coming to town. There's no way there's going to be a sheet on that window when they arrive. They'll take their daughter and their grandkids with them. That issue went from an inconvenience to a problem in an
Yeah.
instant, right? An inconvenience, it's a nuisance. We talk about it, we complain about it. We don't do anything about it until it elevates to the level of a problem. And then and only then are we willing to invest time, resources, and dollars to address it.
One thing that comes up, and we're actually at the end of our time, believe it or not, but I want to address, no, that's all right. I want to bring this up. Oftentimes, I've found that one of the things that gets in the way of eliciting the genuine problem is your client doesn't want to reveal that they feel like a failure or they feel stupid or they feel incompetent. It's a defense. It's not that they're trying to lie to you or smokescreen you, although that's often the case. Buyers, what's the phrase? Buyers are liars and sellers are yellers. I don't believe that to be true. But you get what I'm driving at here?
Back to what you said before. If you create an environment where they feel comfortable sharing with you, they're not the only ones experiencing this. They're not the only ones feeling this. They're going to be much more likely to share with you.
Very important. If you don't create that, and I think one of the things that does that is at the proper time in the sales conversation to be vulnerable, is to say,
Yes.
I really don't understand where you're coming from here. So if the answer is no, that's fine. Just please tell me. It won't insult me. Heart to heart, human to
Yes.
human. Just tell me what's on your heart. And I shut up. And that
Uh,
cracks open the toughest person because you're giving them permission to speak their truth. So,
yes.
my truth, I have to speak to you as you've been a wonderful guest. We are at the end of our time together, Lee.
Mhm.
So, I've got to ask the question, how does my audience stay in the conversation with you? What can they do?
A few different things. Certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. I also have a video series you can see on YouTube called Lee's Lessons. And I alluded to this a couple times in our talk here today. I have a new book out, bestseller called The First Meeting Differentiator. It's not how to get the meeting. It's what to do once you've landed the meeting, how to put together a strategy for that critical step of the sales process. And Paul, you know what's interesting? There are literally thousands of books written on the subject, prospecting, how to get a meeting. Find a book written on how to put together a strategy for the first meeting. It didn't exist until I wrote this. There's books on writing, on developing questions. There's books on storytelling and all of that. But a book fully dedicated to the strategy for that one step of the process, comprehensive, everything you need to know to put together that game plan, didn't exist until I wrote this. As a matter of fact, a number of my friends in this space said, can't believe I didn't think to write that book.
Fantastic. Stay on with me. for a brief little green room conversation once again. Lee Salz, thank you for coming on the show. And as I end every episode, to the hostile alien armada hovering just outside of Earth's atmosphere in their cloaked spaceships, remember, eat the Canadians first. And we'll see you on the next episode of The Influencer's Edge.
The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode.